this next topic that we talked about and decided that I need to do is called, How's Your Love Life? Now, you two need to edge, I don't know. Now, really and truly, the reason why I'd like this, I feel like in ladies' meetings we need to start speaking about this even more, is because there's so much adultery. There's so many people running off with each other. I have horror stories. I have two stories I want to tell you. The first story is about a couple that I know. I know the lady, I know the man very well. I mean, I was next door neighbors with them. We were very close friends. And sometime in their relationship, something got sour. And they started being friends with another couple. And as they become friends with that other couple, an attraction started between the man and the wife and the man and the wife. And they got into trouble, ran off with each other, etc. Now, praise God, both couples are reconciled. They're back together and everything's fine. But I thought, now why are things like that happening today? Well, now I'm not saying this is positively why, but we are having such a hard time with having good marital relationships. You know, because we ladies are so stressed out, that is not a number one priority with us most of the time. Now, I'll just be honest with you. And this is a topic that, you know, you can sort of giggle with and, you feel a little embarrassed about. But I want to try to do it tastefully and as nicely as I can. It's not anything graphic, no, you know. But I want to give you a challenge about it, about how is your love life. The second story is about a man that I know that his wife was a very busy person. And I don't know why. I didn't talk to the man, I didn't talk to the woman. But I can guess why, but this man ran off with a teenage girl. Now, you know what? I can deduct, you know, and I can sort of guess, you know, maybe that the woman was too busy. You know, every woman sitting here, if I ask you to raise your hand if you feel like you're a busy person, you'd raise your hand. I know it. Because this is the day and age when we feel like we have too many things to do. So what happens is the things that are our number one priorities don't get cared for. Now, for a Christian wife and mother, the number one priority should be your husband. But he's not 1 year old screaming for attention, right? Who has the 1 year old? You, 1 year old screaming for attention, you know? So it's really hard to try to make sure that your husband has the attention that he needs and deserves in your all's marital relationship. So that's why I feel like this needs to be talked about. We're not, as I said, I'm going to try to do it tastefully, and I'm not I don't think we'll be too funny, because then I'm not somebody that talks about things like that. I feel very embarrassed about people talking about things like that, you know, even just in jesting. But I do feel like we need to talk a little bit about it. So let's have a word of prayer, and then we'll get into it. Father, thank you so much for these ladies. Please help us to do our best. Lord, this is an important part of our married life, and I do pray that you'd help us to be better wives for you after hearing this session, and pray in Jesus' name. Amen. First, I would like to ask you this question. This is a thought question for you. This is not one you're going to respond to, but I'd like you to think about it. First, let's explore something that may be hindering you from having a fulfilling marital relationship. Let me ask you that first. Number one, what is your attitude? What is your attitude about sex itself? Okay? I want you to think this through. Don't say anything out loud, but what is your attitude about sex itself? When you read the word, what do you think about? Do you think it's dirty? It's bad? Except, you know, what do you think? It's important for you to think of something right now. What was your attitude before you're married? Did you just absolutely know nothing about it? Let me ask you this. Did anybody ever bother teaching you anything about it? Now let me ask you this. Was your honeymoon a big disappointment to you? Now again, I don't want no laugh. You know what I'm saying? I don't want any answers from you, but your attitude concerning sex itself is very important in making it what it should be in your marriage relationship. Do you know that when I was in college, when engaged girls, we had meetings with a doctor. We got to ask them all these questions. We had meetings with a preacher, and he told us some really neat things, you know, about the that you all should talk beforehand, while you're in the car driving or something, about whether you'd like to change in the bathroom and then come out, or what you'd like to do. To be that open in communication about the first night. You see, I was pretty prepared. Then we also had a list of books that they felt like were good books for us to read to talk just about the marriage relationship. Now that's training, isn't it? Far better than most of the people, most of the time in our church situations. Now maybe Brother Coffee, he might counsel people. If they would ask for it, he would counsel people that were going to get married about the marriage relationship. My niece at one point was supposed to get married, and I'd already planned on things that I was going to give her, books I was going to give her, and say, you need to read this 3 months before. We didn't read the books about the marital relationship until 3 months before we get married, because there's no use getting too prepared too early. So 3 months before we read these books, and they were very helpful books. Then I had tapes that were recommended to me. I was very prepared for the marital relationship. That is going to affect my attitude, isn't it? Now, second thing about your attitude, how do you look at yourself? Now, when I talk about this is when you've got to understand that the way you feel about yourself affects everything you do in life. And let me ask you this, do you feel that you're unattractive? Now, me, I could show you pictures of when I was growing up. I am a very plain-looking person. And with my hair coloring, when I wear dull colors, I look even more plain. And when I feel like I'm attractive is when I do my hair and put makeup on and I wear bright colors. I feel attractive then. But sometimes, when I'm just around the house, it's easy for me to just feel like, oh yeah, I look okay. At least I'm clean, I don't smell. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you feel about yourself? Do you feel like you're unattractive? Are there things that you can do to make yourself feel attractive? That's important. Number 2, are you overweight? Now, you can be overweight and not affect your attitude, but you've got to work at it. Are you underweight? There are some people that are so skinny and they feel so self-conscious because they're so skinny. Their ribs show, 3, are your hips too big? Or are your legs too skinny? Anything that you feel like you have a physical hindrance to making you feel confident about yourself and the way you look. Here's one. Do you feel like you don't have enough bust? And that's what men really enjoy. So that's what some of us, I didn't say us, but some people, that's no problem at all. Got too much, got something I like to give away, But is that something that is something that could affect your attitude toward the marital relationship? Are you the kind of person that's anxious to keep yourself covered so your husband won't see your blemishes? As you grow older, you do get blemishes. Now, ladies, when I'm teaching about dress, I tell them, I always say this, and I really mean it with all my heart, and I think you all agree with me, that we all know that men are stimulated by sight. Now, I tell girls, when I see my body, it don't do a thing for me. Sort of looks gross, you know what I mean? And so, you are not a fair judge about yourself. And if you don't have a very communicative husband, it makes it even harder. Like, if your husband's not the kind that tells you, oh, you are just a sexy person, or I don't know the terminology that your husband uses, but you know what I'm afraid of, Mrs. Coffee? Sometimes because I grew up, I was 17 before I got saved, and my family's pretty, they're pretty graphic. They talk too much. I didn't like it, I was always embarrassed by it, but they did talk too much. But I think we as Christians don't talk enough. We don't communicate with each other enough. We're not verbal enough to let our husbands know what we need. Mrs. Evans has a tape out telling your husband what you need. My husband's, one of the things he's talking about this morning is how to fill the needs of your wife. You love that, don't you? Say, boy, this is great. Can't wait till you get that one done. You might think that you just look positively awful. But if you're still appealing to your husband, that's all that matters. So you don't have to be upset and you don't have to cover yourself like that. You just got to get over that kind of an attitude. Now let me ask you something. What's your attitude toward your husband? Do you resent him? Only time he's nice to me is when he wants something. I've heard that so many times. I'm 37 and now I'm getting to the age where as we go to churches, people will come up to me and ask me about things like this. The only time he's nice to me is when he wants something. Well, I said, well, at least he's nice to you sometime, you know. That's what I try to say, and I try to be light about it. But, you know, if you carry resentment toward your husband, it will definitely affect your attitude toward the marital relationship. If you are somebody that you just feel like he don't love me any other time, why should I help him? Why should I satisfy him? You know, whatever, if you have the wrong kind of attitude toward your husband, that is definitely going to affect your relationship. Do you not like his appearance? You know, he's not what he used to look like. You know, when you first married him, he was probably a hunk. That's why you was attracted to him. But as you grow older, you might be majoring too much on the blemishes. Because but sight is not that important. You know what's most important to us ladies? It's how they treat us when we're not when it's not nighttime. That's what's important to us. And when they don't treat you right, you hold resentment in your heart, and you just, whenever you crawl in bed, you crawl all the way to the edge, you turn your face this way, and he's over there, and you just pretend like you're sleeping as fast as you can. Right? See, I know. But is that right? No, it's not. The Bible says, let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Do you know what I like about that? It doesn't say you can't have wrath. Isn't that neat? Honest and truly, my husband and I do have conflicts sometimes, and miscommunications many times. Because I'll say, well, Kevin, it seems like you're saying this. And he said, I'm saying that? Where in the world did you get that? Well, it just sounded like, you know, I just, so then we get in little arguments. But I'm not right with God unless I get those arguments settled before I go to sleep at night. I'm not supposed to go to bed with something against my husband. And you say, but I've tried to talk to him. Then you need to get more help. There is a way to have a better relationship with your husband. There really is. I know you're looking at me like, oh, no, this is impossible. It is possible. You might need a third party to help referee the match. You know, and help him. See, sometimes he doesn't understand the way you're thinking. And you don't understand what he's thinking. We were just talking about how he shows me he loves me by doing that, and I could list all the things that I know my husband loves me because he does this, this, and this, and this. Now, he might have a different, complete list. I show my wife that I love her by doing that. Right? Because we're all so different, and that's all right. But how much can you accept of his differences? Can you take on more of his list? Accept the way he's showing you that he loves you by what's on his list. Have you even talked about it? Have you asked in a nice, normal tone? Most of us ladies, you know what we do? We get so upset that we just, like a time bomb ready to explode before we start talking about anything. Then we bring back up things that happened 3 weeks ago. And he didn't even remember it happened. This happened, I didn't know nothing. How do you remember all these things? My husband, when I start listing all this stuff, he said, I did that 2 weeks ago. I didn't know anything about it. Why didn't you tell me then? Well, it wasn't upsetting me then because I hadn't added all these other things together with it. It was just a small thing 2 weeks ago. Now it's real big. And I just keep piling those things up, and to the point where I resent him. And then when I resent him, I don't want to satisfy him. I don't want to help him. See? That's how we are. If you can cut him down easily in word or thought, how damaging that is to your relationship. If you can, right now, think of something real negative to say about your husband. If you can think it, it's very damaging to your relationship. And it is hurting your marriage, and it will continue to hurt your marriage. Now, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings that's on a second or third marriage, but I bet there's a lot of you all that could testify to the fact. I made a mistake in not this. Or he was this way, and I didn't know how to talk to him and how to help him. My mom often says that when she divorced my dad, alcoholic dad, she said, I wish I know today what I knew then. I could have made things a little bit better. Not saying she could have fixed anything, because it takes two to tango, and she couldn't have fixed anything, she said, but I think things could have been a little bit better during the marriage. So what I'm asking you is this: do you have an attitude towards sex that's going to hinder you ever having a good relationship? Number two, do you have a bad attitude about yourself? That could definitely hinder your attitude toward your marriage relationship. Or do you have a bad attitude toward your husband? And if you have any of those attitudes that's going to hurt you, you got to get over them today. You got to make up your mind you're going to get over them. It's got to be a heart decision. Okay, Loretta, I've been resenting my husband. Instead of communicating to him, I've just been holding things against him and holding out on him. I know I've talked to women that go for weeks at a time without letting their husband touch them. And they're just showing them. Well, you aren't showing him anything. You're not right with God. That's what 1 Corinthians 7:5 says. You know what 1 Corinthians 7:5 says? Defraud ye not one the other. That means to deny each other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. So what the Bible's saying right there is, women, you cannot deny your husband unless you've talked about it and decided we're going to do this for a time of prayer and fasting. There's not many women that qualify in that situation. And you know what? If you are being the right kind of marriage partner, do you know what? He's going to be sweeter to you. He's going to, if his needs are being met, I get sick of women saying to me, well, he don't meet my needs. Well, you know what? It don't matter if he meets your needs. You're still supposed to be a good wife. There's nothing in the Bible there that says that he has to be this and then you can be this. There's too much. We are such givers. Women by nature are such givers. But most of the time we're giving just to our children and the younger people that we have in our lives that need us. Why can't we be givers to our husband? You say, I give all the time. Yeah, but are you giving the things that he needs? You might be giving custodial help. You know, Mrs. Evans says that they can pay for somebody to clean their house and cook their meals and be right with God, but they can't pay anybody else for this other thing and be right with God. So you are giving to him, but are you giving him what he wants and what he needs? What's on his list of priorities? You say, yeah, I'm sure that'd be one of his priorities. Well, is there anything wrong with that? No, that's his nature. You need to accept him for what he is and make it a priority for you. You know what? If it's a priority for my husband, then it's a priority for me. And I ought to keep track, make sure it's not too long. You know what? I don't want my husband going around being all those teenage girls and not having us having our time together. It'd be dangerous for him, be hard for him. So I don't want that to happen, and you shouldn't want it to happen either. Especially the way girls dress nowadays. How many of you have men that work out in the world? Dangerous for you to just think it's not a priority. It's dangerous. And that's why we have adultery. He's got a wife that's denying him and treating him like dirt at home, and so this other girl's real being nice to him, she looks good, etc., etc. It's bad. So I'm saying, whatever, if it's a priority with him, it ought to be a priority with you. Do you know what the kind of communication I'm talking about is? You and your husband sit down and say, honey, really and truly, how often do you feel like we need to have that time together to keep you satisfied? Now, I know what you're thinking, 3 or 4 times. You know, I know what you're thinking. But you know what I'm saying, don't you? That kind of communication goes a long way. And then, instead of you just coming to bed and saying, well, I wonder if he's going to want it tonight, you say, well, what about it? Is this the night? Is tonight the night, honey? You know, if you just turn your attitude around, it would just help so much. It would change everything completely. Okay, so I've read to you 1 Corinthians 7:5. I want to read Hebrews 13:4 to you also. The only 2 verses in the Bible that I know of that talk Hebrews, I've lost 13:4. Here it is. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. So like I said, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed is undefiled. If you've had a bad attitude toward the marriage relationship, maybe because of things that happened in your past, maybe because, look, I'll be honest with you, when I was growing up, I had a girlfriend that had an uncle that watched X-rated movies. And you know what? That girlfriend took me over to Uncle's house and we watched some X-rated movies. It didn't help my attitude toward the marriage relationship. Those X-rated movies are, I don't understand anybody liking them. You know, when I drive on the interstate and I see those X's and all the windows are all closed up and I know they got all those little booths. I've not been in them, by the way. Well, wait a minute. I did walk in one by almost. There was a used bookstore in Clarksburg, and And I walked in there to look at the used books, because I like books. And I kept walking toward the back, and all of a sudden I saw there was some booths in there. I thought, booths for books? And then I noticed there was men coming in, a lot of men. I thought, and so the longer I was there, I started seeing things, and I said, oh, I got to get out of here. So I ran out the door as fast as I could. Didn't buy a book, by the way. But so I don't understand why they want it, because it doesn't give you a great picture. It's just it's lust. It's nothing that's beautiful like the marriage relationship should be. You say, Loretta, that's not how it is with me. Then there's help for you. That's what I'm trying to say. There is help for you. Now, I'm not going to give you the help here. I'm not going to go into all those details. But I will tell you some books that I think you ought to read if you're having trouble. And you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with reading them every other year, just for fun of it, just to keep the spark in it, just to get ideas. I know that Maribel Morgan, is her name Maribel? Anybody know is it Maribel? She's got a book out that tells some real far out ideas about keeping your marriage relationships spiffy. Like one of them, she says to go, and I'm telling you this, she said it, and I didn't do it, and I'm not going to plan on doing it, but she said to do it in her book. She said to get yourself completely naked, put on a trench coat, go out the back door, go around to the front door, ring the doorbell, and when he opens the door, like this, open the coat. Now, she's pretty far out, but you know what? If we could even go just half that way, we'd put a little spark in our married life for sure. Make it fun. You know what? We get like Mom, Paul Kettle. Everything's the same. What are you laughing about? Something you did? Oh, don't tell us. We don't want to hear any illustration. Oh, this probably is when the kids are gone for a night or something, I'm sure. Oh, that'd be embarrassing. But you get the idea, don't you? If we had women that are trying to be creative in their marriage relationship and trying to make it a priority, our marriages would be 110% better. Definitely better. But what I'm saying, she is really getting into this, Marion. Have you read that book? You knew what her name was. You haven't read her? Honest, I've read parts of it. I get embarrassed reading all of it, but I've read parts of it. But what I'm saying is, we get into the old married life syndrome. You newlyweds wouldn't relate to this. But there is a syndrome you get into. Everything's the same. Always, there's nothing exciting going on in our married life. But you know what? If you stay in that syndrome, it's your own fault. It's up to somebody in the marriage relationship to put a spark back into it. Now, we've talked about your attitude toward the marriage relationship. We've talked about your attitude toward yourself. We talked about your attitude toward your husband. You can fix any of those attitudes if you want to. I've talked to ladies that said, I was abused as a child. Well, you know what? You can get over that too. God has the power and ability to help you over it. You really can. I've talked to many ladies that have had that problem, and you can get over it. You have to work at it, but you can get over it. Now, if you do need a change, if you say, well, you know, Loretta, it has been, my relationship is not what it should be. I admit it to myself. Let me give you some suggestions. Nothing graphic, no illustration, just plain old suggestions. Number one, during the marriage relationship, turn your attitude over to the Lord. Say, Lord, I haven't had the right attitude for those things, but right now I'm going to give you my attitude. Does it please God for you to be the right kind of marital partner? Yes. Is it important to Him? Yes. Ladies, we don't talk about this, and we shouldn't talk about it. I'm not trying to say you should go to a friend and start talking about your marriage relationship. I don't think that's good. But what I am saying is, you can talk to God about it. Lord, it's not going right. There's something wrong in our relationship. Can you help me with it? Help me to be what I'm supposed to be for my husband. You can talk to God about anything, and especially about this, which is so important to Him and to your husband. Okay? So, number one, turn your attitude over to the Lord. Don't be a robot. You know, ladies, the men know when you're being a robot. They know it. You might say, well, okay, Loretta, I'm going to take this on, I'm going to make it a priority, and so I'm going to make sure that we have that marriage relationship, but you're really not into it with him. And you're just being a robot. You know what? He knows it. And that's not building to him either. See, this relationship is something that builds a man's self-esteem. It builds him. Makes him feel like it builds his ego. So when you're just a robot involved in it, that doesn't build him at all. That will not help him, and it probably is not going to help your relationship that much. You say, oh, I thought I had a solution. I thought I could make sure we did it, and make sure that he didn't have times when he was without, and I thought I would take care of it. No, I'm saying you've got to change your attitude. There's got to be a change within you. So you tell the Lord, I really want to fix it. You made me for this. This is part of the thing you made me for, God. So I want to please my husband, you help me to do it, and he will do it. Number 2, during the marriage relationship, make sure and be with your mate. You know, there's so often, we ladies are so used to doing 2 things at a time, that there's so often we're not really with him when we are with him. We're thinking about this and that and what's happened all day. We're thinking about everything else, but that is not something that's going to help your relationship to be better. Really give yourself to it. I know partners that go off together for a weekend, and I think it's so healthy. If suppose you are somebody that there's just no spark right now, it's just so normal. Why don't you go off together where you won't be bothered with all the cares of the world? You won't be bothered with the kids. You won't be bothered with the house. You won't be bothered with all the cares of the world. Maybe that's what you need, to just go off together, and then it'll renew something in you. And you say, hey, I am alive. And he'll say, yeah, you are. And the relationship might keen up, and it might be so much better for you. So, during it, make sure you're with him. Concentrate and give yourself freely to it. If you're going to give yourself freely to it, you cannot feel inhibited by your appearance. So that means maybe you need to go out and get you some things that you feel comfortable with that make you feel feminine, make you feel lovely. I'm not saying you have to get those little things that Fredericks has advertising. I'm not saying that. I don't know what it would take for you to feel feminine. I don't know what it would take to make you feel free in the relationship. But you can find out what it would take. Nobody can counsel you to tell you what it's going to take to make you feel free in the relationship. You've got to explore till you find it. And then, after you find it, practice it all the time. Well, if I wear this, if I have perfume on, whatever it is that might make you feel like that, do it. And that way, then you can be the right kind of marriage partner. Number 3, and this is very important. Do what you can to make yourself feel that your appearance is at its best. Now, in order for you to be free with them, I'm saying number 3, do what you can to make sure your appearance is at its best. You know that in school, in one of my college classes on marriage, Linda Hiles Murphy got up and she said, I don't take my makeup off at night. And I thought, you don't? I thought your face would be craters, and I thought, I've always been taught you take off all your makeup at night. And she said, I keep my makeup on for my husband. I even freshen it up a little bit before I go to bed. And I thought, that's crazy. I did what you did. I shook my head. I don't know. But then I got married. I thought, I don't want to look like that. And I know I look my best when I got a little color in my cheeks. So, there's nothing wrong. What I'm trying to say is, if you feel better and feel like your appearance is better by keeping your makeup on, keep it on and wash your face good in the morning. She's got great skin. Mine's got a few blemishes, but I think I'm always going to be plagued with that. You know what I'm saying? But you understand what I'm saying? She said it was all right, and I think it is. Whatever you need to do to make yourself feel good. It's not, women used to have to wear rollers. You remember? Yeah. You know what I mean? But they had to do that to stay beautiful. Now we have these curling irons, and we don't have to wear curlers, and we're so fortunate. So there's nothing wrong with running your curling iron through a little bit. That much trouble for him? Yes. Do you care about your appearance at night when you're going to bed? I'm so tired, I don't care what I look like. I feel that way a lot too. But it's not good for me to feel that way. I'm not bragging and saying that's good for me to feel that way. I'm saying that's bad, and I do feel that way with you. So you want to make sure that you're bathed and you're the most feminine you can be. You are sacrificial people. Most women do not go out and spend a lot of money on themselves. Now, you can ask my husband, he'd probably say, you do, some of you might say, well, I don't spend a pretty good amount of money. I don't think this group would qualify that. I think most of you are very sacrificial, and can I use the word martyrs? I find myself being a martyr sometimes. I'm a self-inflicted martyr. My husband will spend money on something, and I'll say, we don't have the money, I can't spend money on it, and I won't do it. But you know what? I need to spend money on nightgowns. If we were to have you all bring your nightgowns in here, some of you would be so embarrassed. Look at their eyes, they're getting this big. Say, no, please, don't. If we were to have you describe them, we'd all be in awe. You wear that for a nightgown? Your husband has to put up with you in that? Long, I don't know what your nightgowns look like, and by your laughing, you're saying amen, so I can tell what's going on. But do you understand what I'm saying? You need to say, honey, if you don't have the finances right now, you need to talk to your husband. Honey, there's something I really feel like I need, and if you could give me X amount of dollars and go out and buy you 2 or 3 nightgowns, that would make you feel a part of the marriage relationship. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't have the money, this is the only time I ever would tell anybody to use their charge card. But I would say it. Because your marriage relationship means more than anything in this world. If you're married, it should. That should be your number one priority. So some of us need to just go invest in some things. And you know what? Some of us, maybe we need to get some perfumes and lotions and things that make us, we need it. If that's what you need to make you feel feminine and feel exotic and feel, I can't wait to get in bed with that man. If that's what you need, is there anything wrong with it? No, it's great. The marriage is undefiled. God said the marriage bed is undefiled. It's something that's for him and you, the two of you together. So all I'm doing is admonishing you to do whatever you have to do to make it your best. I know what you're going to do, Mrs. Coffee. All these women are coming to me tomorrow. I went to Kmart last night, Loretta. Charge it! JCPenney's, here I come. No, I don't know what I'm asking you to do. All I'm saying is, if you don't have any feminine nightgowns and they're all faded and awful looking, you need to go invest in some. I don't have any money, but that's something I would buy for myself because it means that much to my husband. So and you know what? He wouldn't complain. After he knew the real reason why you're doing it, he would say, go ahead, honey, take twice as much as you asked for. You will let him know that you care enough about your time with him to be your most appealing and your most desirable. See? You say, Loretta, this is going to take a lot of time to turn this around. It is. It's going to take a lot of thought. After you first have a baby, forget this. Just forget everything. You're tired because the baby keeping you up all night. You understand, don't you? My baby's 16 months old. He still gets me up at night sometimes. And this is not something that it's easy. It would be very easy for me to not make it a priority, but I have to keep it a priority in my mind. And you do too. You're not any different than me. Your husband's not any different than my husband. They're all men. All men are all alike, and all of us women are all alike. So we need to take time to make ourselves the most appealing and desirable we can at night. Now, this you know what's going to happen? Some of you might try some of these things. I got this beautiful nightgown. I got this beautiful nightgown. I kept myself makeup on a little bit, and I thought I looked my best, and my husband came in. He was so tired from working all day, he just went right to bed. And you feel rejected by it. But you just got to keep on trying, and you got to communicate to him. Some of you just need to have an old-fashioned talk fest with your husband about your marriage relationship and confess, I don't think I've been what you needed me to be. And just turn it around and really talk it out. Number 4 is protect your privacy. Sometimes moms don't have locks on their doors. Sometimes we haven't taught our children, you don't ever come in that bedroom unless you knock first. You never, ever walk in that bedroom unless you knock first. There has to be a place where you and your husband go that the kids don't feel free, they can just walk in and out. It has to be that way. Now, you have to work at it though. And you got to train and you got to make sure your privacy. Then when I say protect your privacy, I'm talking about your bedroom and your area. I'm also talking about protect your privacy and not talking. I was at a ladies' meeting in 1st of September, and a lady came up to me and she said, I didn't teach on this, but she said to me, she said, you know, I was with a teenage girl was in the car with us, and all the women were talking about their honeymoon the whole way. She said, I was quite frankly very embarrassed that they would talk about those kind of things to each other, and then especially in front of that teenage girl. Sometimes we're too loose lips, talking and joking about it a little bit. You know, so just protect your privacy. Protect your husband. Protect everything about it. Just this is something that is sacred, that God has made for you and your husband, and keep it and protect it. Number 5, we ladies especially need to use anticipation. As you read the books that I'm going to tell you about, if you've never read anything like this and you don't understand the woman's body, you don't know that women need to work up to this. Men can be turned on instantly. I mean, just instantly. But women usually need to be work up to it. So what that means is, if a husband, when he's leaving work, if he'd say, I'm going to get you tonight, honey. If he'd say something like that, and you say, oh, you know, you get all embarrassed, and it's good, he likes that too. And so all day long you think, now, tonight's the night. You know, that's why you get so disappointed if you got a nice nightgown and got yourself all clean and thought this is it, and he goes to sleep, you know, and snoring. All you hear is snoring, you know. So anticipation is something that you need to. That's why I know of people. I have talked to people that have said that they have successful relationship because they plan each week. They know when they're going to, because that's what the wife wanted in their conversation with each other. That's what she said. I really need that. So that's fine. That was a communication between the wife and the husband. That's between them. And if they want it that way, let them have it that way. That's great. Have it. It's planned. It's scheduled. And so then the woman has plenty of anticipation. She knows. She knows she's not going to go to bed and turn over and look on that side of the bed, and he's looking on that side of the bed. You know, she knows it. So use anticipation. Number 2, in the same point, is use instigation. Do you know what I mean by instigation? Women, there's nothing wrong with you saying to your husband sometimes, I'm going to attack you tonight. You know, you say, but me be the aggressive one? I guess so. Because the Bible says that in marriage the bed's undefiled, so that means no holds bar. Everything's okay. I can do anything. That's why this Maribel Morgan book's so good. That's definitely instigating, isn't it? Opening up a trench coat, you know. So some of the husbands, if you ever just slightly, some of us that are shy, we don't ever talk about it. If you just said, you are just a maniac and I can't wait to get you in bed tonight. If we said that to him, they'd pass out, wouldn't they? Wouldn't it be fun to do that to them? When you think about it, wouldn't it be fun to do that? She is having another laughing spell. She said, he's having a heart attack. We don't want that. You know what? It'd be so nice for you to instigate. Do you know what would be good for you to do sometime? You know there's a Friday night. There's a Friday night coming when he don't have anything planned. You get the money saved for a motel room. You get a babysitter for the kids. You say, honey, can you go with me on a ride? And he'll fight you. I'm going to watch television. But I got something special planned. And you already have a bag in the car. You know? And you just go to a motel and you just attack him. Do you know, if we had women that's doing this, we would not have adultery. There is just no way in the world. If a man was being satisfied, I just don't think so. Maybe that's not true. If not, all the other relationships weren't well. You know, there's lots of different relationships that cause a man to go astray. I don't want to make anybody feel like I think that's the main problem. It's not. But I think that is a problem that can help men to stay at home and find their satisfaction at home. I think that can help. You understand? I want to clarify that. I don't really think that is the number one problem. That's why men go astray. Sometimes they have problems. I know that. And I'm not a judge. I don't know all the situations in life. But I do know this, that if women were instigating, you'd keep a lot of spark in your relationship. Mrs. Evans says that she's told me that I am the social director of the home, right? So if I'm the social director, I think I can be the sexual director too sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. Now that is not the normal me. You know, that is not the woman in me. That is not me. But I can put it on, can I? I can say, boy, honey, I just can't wait after supper. You're washing up dishes, and you know how he always comes up and pats you on the bottom? You say, you pat me now, I'm going to get you later. And wink at him. He'd love it. He would love it, wouldn't he? We just need to put this on and help ourselves to be what we need to be. Use anticipation and instigation. And then think about it. You know what? And when I say anticipation, one of the things that I think that you could do is in anticipating a relationship. Your husband, you know, tonight we're going to have that time together. Then I think the anticipation involves you thinking about good things about your husband. Really loving on. Every time you think of him, think about, boy, he is really good. He fixed my garage door. You say, he's really bad. He didn't fix my garage door. No, but you know what I'm saying? Think about the good things that he does. Like my husband the other day, he knows that I was really frustrated with Joe, so he just took Joe off. Now, you know, I didn't even have to ask him. He just did that. So I would think, that's something that I would take a lot of time thinking about. You know, he really loves me. He took Joe off my hands for that little bit of time so that I could get myself back together again. And I'd think about the good things that he's done. You know how you have those lists of things he's done in the last few weeks that's bad? What about thinking about and really majoring on them? Maybe if you are having a problem with resenting your husband, maybe you need to take a little time in getting over those resentments and erase your list off your memory. You know, the Bible says that when you forgive, you do forget. But he hasn't asked me to forgive me. He doesn't even know he did it wrong, ladies. That's one of the main problems. He doesn't even know he's done something wrong. So what I'm asking you is, can you, just because you know it's right to forgive those list of things that he's been doing wrong, that you resent him for? And then start making a new list that you can major on good things that he does for you. Because we're so busy, and we have so much on our mind, it's easier for us to remember the negative than the positive. Do you find that's true? I do. So maybe you need to make a list of the blessings and good things that he does for you and the ways that he shows you he loves you. Remember, I said the way he shows you he loves you, meaning off of his list of things that he thinks he does for you that shows you he loves you. See, we got to talk out of both sides of the mouth. My husband needs to be over there saying to the men, you need to find out what your wife likes you to do to show you that you love her. But then I need to say over here, ladies, you need to accept what your husband does that shows you that he loves you. It's not exactly what you like. It's not even part on this list, but you just need to accept it. And if you accept it, your life will be so much better. You'll be so much happier. And make your priorities the same. The things we care about, our men don't care about most of the time. My husband doesn't even notice when the house, I think it's a wreck. And I'll say, honey, I'm so sorry the house is such a mess. He said, I didn't know it was a mess. He really does it because it's not a big thing to him. He cares more about my attitude and me being happy and making sure the kids are clean and doing good. You know what I mean? That's what he cares about. So we need to communicate a little bit better to each other about our marriage relationship and about all the things that are going wrong in our marriage relationship that hinders us. Now, I want to go back to number 1 when we're talking about your attitude toward yourself. I want to go back to it for just a minute and plead with you about something. It seems like that when a woman doesn't like herself and when she doesn't accept herself for what she is, it seems to affect every relationship she has in life. Some of you that feel like you're bad moms, it might be because of your poor self-esteem. Some of you that you feel like I'm just not a good wife, it might be because you just don't feel good about yourself. That is something that you can get help from. And the books that I know of that help you with that, Mrs. Howes has written 2. I Feel Precious to God, number 1, and number 2, Marred Vessels in the Potter's Hand. Then she has numerous tapes out that help you with that. I did a talk, you probably still have the tape, maybe from last year, Climbing the Ladder of Self-Worth, that'll help you to feel better about yourself. That's a number 1 priority for you. If you don't like yourself, you've got to get over that. You've got to overcome it. Then I want to tell you some of those books that I was talking about. Dr. Ed Wheat. Dr. Ed Wheat has a book out called Intended for Pleasure. And that is a very good book. You can get at any of these Christian bookstores. If they don't have it in stock, they can order it in. Another one by Tim LaHaye is called The Act of Marriage. And it was very helpful and very good. Then, Oh, I didn't write them down. I knew I'd remember them. There's a third book. If only he knew. Smalley, Gary Smalley, has 2 books out, one for men and one for the ladies. One for the ladies says If Only He Knew, and one for the men is something about helping your wife or something about being